And joining the show now is the manager of digital media with the BC Lions. He's on the First and Now podcast. It's Nik Kowalski. Thanks a lot for doing this to talk BC Lions.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, guys, for having me. Like I was just mentioning to you guys, love talking CFL football and, of course, love talking BC Lions.
The Lions are coming off back-to-back 12-6 seasons, but back-to-back West Final losses in Winnipeg. It's the 70th season of BC Lions football. It feels like a team on the cusp of greatness to me. What about you?
No, I get that feeling too, being around these guys every day. You can tell it's a strong culture. I'm wearing my for the culture shirt right now, so we're we're
Nice.
we're all we're all bought in on that. And yeah, unfortunately, those last two West Finals haven't gone the way the team wanted to. Not putting up many points in those games. It's a tough environment to go into Winnipeg, right? And a lot of guys here will tell you that getting first place is a massive step in taking that next step, because then you play that West Final game at home and you also have one fewer playoff game as a result, right? So it's it's a Grey Cup or bust kind of season. Vernon Adams Jr. has mentioned that. I know there's high expectations here, and there should be with the talent on this team.
That's exactly what I have next year. Vernon Adams Jr. saying Grey Cup or bust. And look, it is the goal of every team, but in a Grey Cup hosting year, with the way the last two seasons have gone, it even feels a little bit different and even a little bit more pressure. How does the team kind of block that out a little bit and try to keep it down? Because sometimes that pressure can get to a team, I think.
Yeah, for our own content, we've actually brought that question up too to guys like Ryan Phillips, who was part of that 2011 team that won the Grey Cup at BC Place, and even a guy like Vernon. And the answer they'll give us is that yeah, they bring it up. Like it's something that is brought up more so at the start of the training camp even, and then everyone kind of knows that in their mind, but it's not something that you think of every day, and you kind of take things day by day, right? It's the common goal is to win the Grey Cup, but if you're too fixated on that, you're not focusing on the minute details of the game, right? That's something that they're always preaching, is getting better every single day and winning the day and a result like that. And I think there will be pressure, but I mean, you talked like is Vernon Adams Jr. Had came in and had to fill in for Nathan Rourke, and then he got benched for Nathan Rourke in the playoffs, and now he came in next season as the guy, and everyone was questioning that it was a downgrade from Nathan Rourke. And I mean, we saw what happened last year. He was on a 6,000 yard pace, right? So he definitely lived up to all the pressure and everything that came with him. So I don't question that Vernon can't handle any pressure in this team either. So it'll be there, but they've shown that they can handle it.
Nice. So, Nick, after seeing what's happening at training camp, is there an area of the team's game from 2023 that they seem to be focused on improving?
Well, obviously, the first thought that anyone would have is the addition of William Stanback, right? And he didn't obviously dress yesterday in Calgary, but he's someone who he's motivated as well too, right? He talked to him, even though he did win a Grey Cup with the Montreal Alouettes last year. He's someone who has a chip on his shoulder and felt that he wasn't treated properly before coming to BC, right? Because he was released by the Alouettes before we
Yeah.
signed ahead of free agency. So William looks good too. I know it's an area that the Jordan Maximics even talked about. You know, being more balanced on offense, and having a guy like William Stanback too. And the thing I've noticed with him, it's tough to gauge obviously with the run game when you're watching training camp, because there's no tackling obviously, and they don't go
Yeah.
down or anything like that. But William, he's a big guy. He's strong body, and but at the same time, he has that breakaway speed when he kind of busts those runs open in camp in their team reps. He looks fast too. It's not just a strong body. He looks like he has that breakaway speed. And we even saw that last year. I always think about when we went to Montreal. He busted off like a 70-yard touchdown run on us. So it's nice to have him on our side now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So switching over to the receivers, so no more Lucky Whitehead, no more Dominique Grimes. Alex Hollins had almost 1,200 yards last year, and Keon Hatcher had over 1,200 yards last year. Looks like Justin McInnis is going to have expanded role in 2024 as well. What other pass catchers should fans be looking for?
Well, from day one, the team has been rolling with Travis Fulgham and Aiden Eberhart in the first team. And Eberhart's a guy who last year was wearing number 77, new body in camp, and you couldn't help but think, who is that number 77 that's catching everything? And then the preseason game in Regina we go to, and he makes like three highlight reel catches, and people were saying this guy has like a little Brad Burnham in his game with the type of catches he's making, just getting hit, making doing whatever it takes to come up with the football, right?
I
As
remember.
a as a result, he earned a spot on this team, right? And he started at the start of the season because of some other injuries in the receiving core, and now with the departure of Lucky and Dom to Ottawa, and Lucky still hanging around in free agency, Aiden's been with the ones, and he's looked really good in our fan fest scrimmage. He had a diving touchdown. Those highlight reel catches have been a constant in training camp, so he looks really strong. And then, I mean, right from rookie camp, Travis Fulgham had to participate in that, and he was someone who VA was frequenting lots and the Skelly reps and the team reps, and he's been getting a lot of balls thrown his way. He looks as advertised, a guy that had that crazy season in 2020 in the NFL with the Philadelphia Eagles, and then but at the same time, though, it's in skelly reps and team reps over 2 weeks, everybody's going to make some plays too. So I know the teams was high on a guy like Stanley Berryhill, Ed Lee, who was returning. They were both returning yesterday as well. Devin Ravenel. So there are still guys here that are going to compete for more spots, but we're trying to emphasize, at least on the content side on our podcast and everything, that anyone that's worried about this receiving core taking a step down, it's not going to happen, especially with Vernon calling the shots at quarterback.
I'm really interested on the other side of the ball to see what the D line is going to bring this season. Matthew Betts had 18 sacks last year. He's in Detroit. David Menard has just departed the team, but in comes Pete Robertson, who spent last year in Saskatchewan, and then Christian Covington after spending several years in the NFL. Like, what are you expecting to see from that defensive line this year?
Well, Pete's come in and wreaked havoc for sure. And I remember the very first rep of main camp at our team session, Pete had a knockdown on VA, and he's had a couple of those over camp. So, and Pete's obviously one of those guys that I think everyone in the BC Lions organization is happy to have on our side now, right? He ended up, I know it's not on purpose, and I know he doesn't even like talking about this, but he was someone who got to our quarterbacks last year and ended up injuring both of our quarterbacks the last 2 seasons,
Yeah.
right? But that just happens when freak accidents happen, right? When you get quarterback sacked. But Pete's definitely been with the ones all camp, and he is the candidate to replace Matthew Betts' position. And then Covington too. He's a really nice guy, really genuine guy. Everything you hear from him, talking about that he wants to be here for years and he wants to do whatever it takes to bring that common goal of winning a Grey Cup back home. It all reeks genuine. He's very, very approachable and all that. And unfortunately, he's been dealing with a bit of a hamstring injury in camp, so he's only suited up for a couple of practices since we've been here. But I believe he's getting a little more healthier now, and I'm not sure at this point. Coach Campbell still has to declare a roster for Friday's game, but he definitely probably could be a candidate to dress in that game at this point. But that's another thing too. A guy like just to add to the defensive line, a guy like Marcus Moore, who's in his second season now, kind of the Aiden Eberhard of the defense last year. That you notice him standing out as a first year player. He actually played some playoff. He played in the playoffs too for us, but he's been working with the ones. With Covington out. He's kind of been beside Josh Banks with Covington not practicing, and Marcus is a physical dude, and big body up in the middle there, and also he's a little physical, or he can muck it up too. So he's been a good presence there, and someone to keep an eye out for too this season.
Is there any, like, the defense overall looks like there's a lot of continuity going on there, and obviously that is a good thing year to year. Like, Ryan Phillips really has his unit, and it looks like they're always ready to go. They were a menace at times last year. Is the secondary group kind of looking pretty close to last year's group?
Well, there's still a spot or two up for grabs right now, right? Because Jalen Edwards Cooper left in free agency, so there's that field corner spot or the right corner spot. Because last year they played left and right in defensive backs. They never played field or boundary. That's how highly they thought of Jalen Edwards Cooper and Gary Peters on their respective sides, right? But so Jalen's spot is up for grabs at that field corner now, and also TJ Lee is still recovering from his Achilles injury, right? So while he is here, he's not practicing at all. So. They've had a guy like Ronald Kent rolling with the ones. He was someone who definitely is standing out right from the get-go in rookie camp. That's number 4 on defense. And then even a guy like Christophe Beaulieu has got reps. He's a third-round pick out of Laval. Has a knack for the football. You can tell in training camp he's been making a lot of interceptions, a lot of breakdowns, or a lot of knockdowns, sorry. And then another guy like Tyon Davis, who's another name I'm sure no one really knows listening, but there's always first year players that are getting their chances, right? So Tyon Davis has also been a guy getting reps in the first team secondary. And then the only new addition, I guess, or veteran addition would be Keontae Evans, and he's been with the
Yeah.
ones too, right? So kind of an under the radar signing in my mind because he's put up some good years in Calgary, went over to Montreal last year, won a Grey Cup, so comes with great experience. I know you can see him, Gary, Marcus Sales all talking and coaching up the young guys, giving them pointers too. So um, while there is a lot of continuity in that secondary, there still is a starting spot up for grabs right now.
I want to ask about the backup quarterbacks. Kind of, I don't know. Is there anybody that's got a leg up on the number 2 spot? Jake Dolegala coming over from Saskatchewan. Dakota Prukop is in there. And as we've seen over the past few years, it looks like the number 2 guy is going to have to play at least 1 or 2 games throughout a season. It seems like the most successful teams have a guy that can step in and play when called upon.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that Coach Rick Campbell and Neil McAvoy, the general manager, they definitely preach that you need more than one quarterback. And they even talk about the room. They don't talk about even two quarterbacks because there's a guy, there's 4 or 5 of them, right? And they're all communicating constantly, all growing together with Jordan Maxinik as the quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinator. But it's not, I don't think it's my say or my call to say who has a leg up on the spot. But what I
Yeah,
will
yeah.
say is that Jake Dolegala has been with the second team throughout camp. Dakota Prukop's been getting third team reps. Chase Bryce as well, who's the other quarterback here. Chase obviously played the entire second half yesterday in Calgary and put up the best passing statistics, right? I think he was like 10 for 16, moved the ball well in the fourth quarter. So I'll leave it up to the coaches to decide who has
Yep.
a leg up on the second string quarterback. But yeah, Jake's the guy who's been working with the second team all camp and has a strong arm. He is very, very tall. Funny guy too. It's been nice getting to know him a little bit over training camp here. So yeah.
Now, on the field, the team's exciting. They were exciting last year, but really off the field, the excitement on the West Coast the last couple of years has been awesome. Fans across the country are noticing. There's Touchdown Pacific this year in Victoria, Labor Day weekend. That sold out in record time. I talked about the 2000 championship team going on to the Wall of Fame. I like the Gravy Bowl, presented by BC Turkey, by the way, Thanksgiving weekend. And then another home opener concert. Like they just keep bringing the excitement on the West Coast, and it seems like such an exciting place to be a CFL fan right now.
100%. I tell everybody that I can that BC should be Canada's team right now. We're exciting. There's a lot of fun stuff going on, like you just mentioned, and that's a credit to obviously Amar Doman, the owner, rejuvenating this market, and even Dwayne Vanu, the president, too, has played such a large role. And it's a pleasure working for those two and getting to carry out their vision, right? So right from the concert kickoff that we're getting ready to announce Monday morning here to like the Gravy Bowl that you said. I even love the Watermelon Smash is one
Oh
that
yeah.
I look forward to. If you're in Vancouver, or even if you're a Riders fan and want to travel to that, even if you're a CFL fan and want to travel to that game, it's such a fun street party beforehand. And then obviously Saskatchewan fans travel well, so the atmosphere is top notch in that building when Saskatchewan comes. But Touchdown Pacific's another one that I mean it's such an unknown. It's going to be exciting, but there's such an unknown factor to it, right? Never having a game out on Vancouver Island. I've had the pleasure of going to Victoria a couple times over the last 12 months, and it's an awesome place. That city is going to be jumping that weekend, and it's going to be an awesome weekend to kick off Labor Day. So it's a big season, the Grey Cup's here as well. So this feels like there's one thing after another, but I mean, no complaining, right? It's what you want for a CFL market.
Yeah, so you mentioned it. Talk about the 111th Grey Cup that's coming up here. How is Vancouver going to raise the bar yet again?
Well, there's still a lot of things that to be announced, right? But at the president that Amar Doman has set, it should be a fantastic Grey Cup. They did announce the early plans for the street festivals the other month, and I know they got the zip line. I think that was maybe one of the massive takeaways
Yeah, it
about
looks
what's
cool.
going to be going on downtown. So I'm not too much into heights, so I don't know if I'll be
It looks
doing that one.
terrifying.
I've been sort of I've been sort of razzing the likes of like Bob Marjanovic and Farhan Lalji to do it, get some content out of them on that. So see if they'll do it, and I can film them do it. I'll gladly do that, but I don't know if I'll be going on it. But Vancouver is awesome in the winter. It's something that I myself, I'm born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, so my winters are used to being snow and cold and all that, obviously, right? Living in the prairies, but then you go out to Vancouver in the winter, and to me, it's not even winter. It doesn't snow, so
It's
and the
crazy.
temperatures are warmer, so that's going to be that in itself, in my mind. Just speaking as a prairie boy, that's going to be a major advantage to this Grey Cup is that it's going to be warmer outside. Probably don't have to bring your parker and don't have to worry about any of that, and the convention centers that they have all these the team parties in and all the other events, they're right along the water. Got a beautiful view of North Vancouver over it. And it's going to be really cool. It's going to be really cool to look at and really cool to be a part of too.
Nik Kowalski is the manager of digital media with the BC Lions. He's a co-host on the First and Now podcast. Can you say anything for fans to look forward to as far as your side of things, content to look forward? Because some of that stuff, the access that you have and the curtains you take us behind on YouTube and everything, it's been so cool to watch. What other plans do you have or irons in the fire?
Yeah, first and foremost, that's I gotta acknowledge, guys like Rick Campbell, the head coach that allows us. We have to, ask him a lot of times for permission to do some certain things, and a lot of the times or pretty much every time we ask, he does say yes, and he's great with approval and all that, as is general manager Neil McAvoy. But the first thing that comes to my mind in terms of what BC Lions fans or CFL fans should be looking forward to for our content is definitely our Arrow Up series. So our plan right now is to roll out just one large training camp episode that we've been grinding away at. We've been profiling first year players. We've sat down a couple of coaches. We've gone into meeting rooms this year. That's kind of a different wrinkle that again, Rick, our Ryan Phillips, Jordan Maximic have allowed us to do this camp. We did some cool stuff with Vernon Adams Jr. yesterday at the preseason game that'll be featured in this Arrow Up documentary, and we've been just trying to, as always, just trying to evolve it, right? Trying to make it better and trying to give fans all that access that they deserve for supporting this wonderful game we have. But that's the main thing. But there's also these one-off pieces, right? Like we have Liam Thompson shoots a lot of video with myself, and he's someone who puts together those one-off content pieces like the Sean White going undercover at FanFest. That's always a
Classic.
hilarious piece of content, right? So
Yeah.
there's stuff like that too. We're not just trying to. I really love the long form stuff. It's my favorite part of the job. But we also do these great short form pieces, and the highlights that we post every day, the podcasts that we do first and now, right? So there's a lot of stuff coming out, and I'm excited for it all.
Okay, who brought out the VHS camcorder at training camp? I saw that TikTok. That thing was pretty wild.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example. That's Liam. So
Wow.
Liam has the creative process for all of that. He's always bringing new ideas to the table. Executed that one flawlessly in my mind. I thought even the thing too that I think the average maybe content consumer doesn't realize is that we're obviously not allowed to use licensed music, right? So that's a big hassle. So he sends me the first cut of that video, and it sounds like a 90s Brooklyn song that fits like perfectly, right? But that's just from our library that we have to choose from of royalty free music that we choose from.
Wow.
So I thought that was great too. That was my first thought actually, was wow, this is a really cool song to match with the video, right? So
Yeah.
it's obviously when we're creating content, there's a lot of barriers. Like the music one's a big one, a good example that I like to give up, but we have to work around it, and that's a good example of coming up with a unique idea and polishing it off with a unique sound.
Well, love the work you're doing, and love the work that the Lions overall are doing. So thanks for coming on the pod to talk about the 2024 edition of the team.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, and have a good rest of your day, guys.
Make sure you subscribe to see more CFL content all season long, including all of our team previews heading into the 2024 season.